This is head researcher Thomas Malthus. Inside this digital recording is every document we have so far on the twilight and the arrival of the biomass on Earth. If our base should fall, we hope that this will be found, but if not, then we may have given up our last shot. Every single recording here was taken at various times and dates, not necessarily in order, and not necessarily catalogued in any particular way. We are running out of time. There's no coming back from this one. To anyone who finds this, I'm sorry. We'll begin the recording now. Transgenant theory. We've figured out what these things are and where they come from. They're not actually aliens at all, but Earth creatures that have somehow had the DNA manipulated by the spores released by the aliens. While there are a lot of insertions into the structure of the DNA, these creatures still have enough of the original structure intact for us to piece together what they were. For the most part, they seem to be experiments and mistakes, dead ends along a path to some higher goal. They're still deadly, even for failures, and should not be underestimated. What the end of the path is, we don't know yet, but we could be seeing it before too long. Biomass analysis. These results are truly frightening. Some areas of Earth are breaking out into massive growths. They absorb and process sunlight into energy much more quickly than any known organism. They grow so quickly and so differently from Earth plants that even the strongest herbicides have no effect at all. What's more, they don't seem to be biologically related to the alien standard technology. We don't know how to fight this yet. It seems best to avoid it if possible, since areas around these growths are populated with much larger numbers of transgenants. It's as if they're drawn to the stuff. We call it the biomass, since it seems it's determined to draw all of the biological material on Earth into it. Biomass growth theory. Our research indicates that the strange liquid we found in a captured UFO is indeed responsible for the biomass growths. It can mutate an animal's nervous system into a structure resembling a miniature biomass node. Larger nervous systems mutate into larger nodes, and animals with more complex brains mutate into stronger, healthier nodes. These nodes grow like neurons, forming connections with adjacent nodes and creating a densely branched structure, resembling a macroscopic neural system. Transgenant research has shown that biomass transgenants perform specialized functions that seem to be coordinated by the biomass itself. This leads us to suspect that the biomass could be susceptible to psionic attacks, just as our brains are susceptible to the psionic attacks of the Greys. Another thing we have learned is that if you destroy a node, much of the surrounding biomass will die. It will eventually be replaced, but destruction of nodes dramatically reduce the local growth rate. Alien interrogation. We've completed our analysis and have come up with a grammar and a limited dictionary, which we're expanding all the time. The closest that you can get to the name for themselves in English is reticulan. Funny, isn't it? We always thought that name was made up by UFO hams, coming from a name of the constellation Reticulum. So far, we've only been able to interrogate low-ranking reticulans, but we've already gleaned important information about their culture. The civilization is several thousands of years older than our own. They've been travelling in space for millennia, and their technology is more or less based entirely on biotechnology. They reproduce by parthenogenesis, which hints that there might be a queen somewhere calling the shots. Culturally, though not biologically, they have a swarm mentality, with intense social stratification. The group to which an individual belongs is much, much more important than any particular individual, and sacrifice is the highest virtue. However, they are rational, intelligent beings, and will not sacrifice themselves needlessly. Still, this makes them fearsome enemies because they're difficult to frighten and are masterful in terms of group coordination. Report on Dreamland archives. As the information from the first base indicated, the governments had been in touch with aliens for decades. Apparently they were peaceful and were allowed to set up bases here on Earth. There are records of these friendly aliens trying to warn the government about what would happen. It could be that the aliens that attacked were from a different faction within the race, or perhaps that they were renegades. Summary of Dreamland files. Unfortunately, the base was heavily damaged by one of a few physical attacks the enemy made in the last days prior to the fall. Most of the information and items here were destroyed. However, from the wreckage and the few scraps we recovered, it looks like the government was in contact before the attack. All of this stuff falls under the heading Project Dreamland. Other documents we found indicate that this was only one of a series of secret bases. If we can ferret out the others, perhaps one will be intact and we'll be able to tell more. Reticulan debriefing. We now have a lot more information about the Reticulans. Their ambassadors had been living here since the 1940s. These were the true representatives of their society. They were peaceful and had a modus vivendi with governments of Earth. They were even sharing some of their technologies with us. The other group of Reticulans, the ones who attacked Earth, consists of renegades who decided to take over some habitable backwater planet in order to conduct experiments. Unfortunately for us, we happened to be that backwater. They destroyed Q-Port, the gateway that the aliens were using for faster and light travel to our solar system. Their hope is that they can finish the project before the other Reticulans are able to return in force, which could take as much as 20 years. They have to crawl here at sub-light-year speeds. The purpose of their experiment, although it must be dire to be conducted in such secrecy and at such cost, is unclear at the moment. We think it may have had something to do with the biomass, and we hope to have it figured out soon. Contact with Old Greys. We managed to establish contact with the Old Greys, the remnants of a small Reticulan community that lived on Earth prior to the fall. They confirmed what we already knew. They were staying here with the approval of major Earth governments and were in fact doing business with them. Our major export commodity appears to be works of art, including painting and sculptures. They knew they were in trouble when the renegades came through Q-Port and blew it up behind them. They tried to alert their earthy hosts, but it was too little too late. During the fall, their installations were targeted with conventional weapons. As a result, only a handful survived. The Old Greys won't bring us any new technologies or weapons, but they offer to fight with us side by side. They may also prove invaluable on any further research efforts concerning their kin. Theory on the purpose of the biomass. It all seems to be coming together now. We've concluded that the Reticulans are working on a truly frightening project. The biomass isn't simply an obstacle or an attempt to alter the planet into something that's more comfortable for renegade Reticulans. It's actually a living computational structure, a planet-wide networking fabric paired with ultra-powerful biological computers. When completed, it will be something far beyond anything that has existed before. The surface will be covered with the brains of the most intelligent entity ever known. Even the Reticulans aren't sure what such a being would be capable of. It would surely, however, be able to destroy the incoming Grey warships with ease, and go on to cause untold destruction in the civilized universe at the command of the Reticulans, if they are able to control it once its birth is complete. Reticulan offer. The full text of the transmission follows. To our noble and indomitable enemies, greetings. We are impressed by your spirit and resourcefulness. Now that you know the true reason for our actions here, we trust that you will realize that, sadly, the sacrifice of your people and planet was necessary in the name of something larger and more magnificent. We have an opportunity to create a god and be the masters of that god. We thereby offer you a chance to partake in this. We offer immediate cessation of all hostilities, and a safe, secure place where you can stay for the duration of the planet's transformation. We will attempt to save as many of your fellow humans as we can, and we offer you a seat on the Control Council. We now have a deeper respect for the human race, and we wish to offer you full partnership in this glorious and unprecedented venture. We want the voice of humanity to be heard in the years to come, over the long and difficult period of transition. If you accept your offer, we can offer immortality for you and your kind. We will only make this offer once, so please express your acceptance with haste. That's everything we have. When this base falls, whoever gets this first, the details you need to accept are included. Make a choice that you think is right.